Yeah, I get
got
that.
a top 5 comedy, and you may have your own top 5 comedy, or you might be able to come up with one. And so I thought, well, as part of doing the overall top 5, we could just have a little sojourn into top 5 comedies.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Did we want so? Are we trying to do that as like in addition to trying to finish our top 10 lists at the moment, or did we want to kind of?
Yeah.
Okay, I get you. So if we have enough time, we'll transition to that. Otherwise, we'll make it for like the next episode kind of thing. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. We are recording. That's looking okay. Right. Welcome to the second half of our Dad and Lad podcast episode about top 10 films. This is the lad. I've got my dad.
Hello.
And I've also got Anthony here with us.
Hello there.
So, boys, let's start off like we always do. What have we watched this week? Anthony, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I watched Once Upon a Time in America.
Once Upon a Time in America. Okay, do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Well, I can't really remember that much now. That was the other day.
Okay. Are there any notable actors?
Days ago.
Yeah, that Joe... I can't remember his name. Joe Pasquale? That's him,
Joe
yeah.
Pesci, yeah.
That's him. Anything with him in...
Pasquale.
No, not
Then
that.
he'd be going, chase me.
Yeah, not him, the first one. Yeah, I had him in it, briefly.
Yeah. Has it got Robert De Niro in it?
Yes. I'd say it's more of a gangster... Yeah, more of a gangster,
movie.
yeah.
You want a bit of trivia? Bit of trivia about that movie?
Yeah.
Interested?
Go on, then.
Guys?
Yeah.
Before Anthony gives his thorough review on it. So that movie, you know the song "Fairy Tale in New York" by the Pogues.
Yeah.
The Christmas song everybody loves.
Mm.
Well, what's his face? Bloody name. The guy the lead singer of the Pogues. Oh no. He was inspired to write it. Shane McGowan. He was inspired to write it whilst touring the US and watching that movie. And there's some of the soundtracks, some of the backing music in the movie that gave him the riff that started the whole making of that song.
Hmm.
So how's about that?
That's cool, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's definitely some trivia, alright.
Anyway, what do you think about the film?
I liked it. I really did like it. It's not a standard, like, say for instance, like the Goodfellas and stuff like that. It's nothing like that. There was no real giggly bits. It was more of a story arc of.
It was more serious.
Yeah, it's basically it's about the 4 kids that grow up in when when they used to smuggle alcohol.
Prohibition.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's around that era,
Yeah.
and it's about about 4 or 5 of them that grow up in that era. Yeah, trying to get their own way, their own boss, basically.
Right.
So yeah, I do recommend watching it.
Okay. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, it got like I said, I'm trying to remember bits about it.
That's alright.
I think I watched it towards the end of last week.
Ah, okay, so it's not too fresh in the mind anymore.
No.
I get you.
But that's the most that stood out to me is the violence wasn't all there. It was more suggested violence more than it was. Yeah.
Is it
Not graphic. Not so graphic.
Is it a film? Or is it a television show?
That's a film.
Yeah.
It's a film, okay.
It's I think it came out in 1985. I could be wrong on that date.
Yeah, no, it's near enough that sort of time frame. It is quite an old film.
Yeah.
By today's, young people would consider it an old film.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite right.
But it's definitely in my.
I haven't seen it.
it's definitely in that category with the gangster sort of style films.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely a gangster movie, but it sounds like it's not graphic violence, so it definitely would appeal to me.
Yeah. There's
It's one that has appealed to me. I've often thought of watching it, but I don't think I've actually watched it. So.
Well, it just came across to me when I was looking up Joe Dude's movies.
Yeah, Pesci, yeah.
Yeah, I thought,
Yeah.
wow, that's the sort of characters he plays very well, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what really drove me when I was looking up for the Goodfellows, see if I could get it to watch online, but there's no free one up. You have to either rent it or buy it.
Yeah, I get you.
So I was like, no, this one come up and this was high rated quite well, so I thought I'll give that a go, and yeah, sure enough, it did tick the boxes I thought I liked. So I added that to my list.
It looks like a good film, and it's got all the cast that you'd expect
Yeah.
to be involved in that kind of thing. I mean, Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro and quite a few films together. Goodfellas being one of them.
Yeah.
And this one, James Woods, I know he was in it.
And Casino. That one was another one I watched recently.
Casino.
I wasn't.
Yeah, that is much more violent.
Yeah, that one really didn't. I kind of wasn't that interested in that one as much as I was with the other movies that he was in, or those two were in.
I'll tell you that if you liked this film, and you like gangster films, especially kind of with a story arc,
Yeah.
even better if it's kind of true story.
Yeah.
If you like the performances of Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro in this, then you may well like. And if you also like, my brain's gone today completely. Al Pacino,
Yeah.
right? Al Pacino. There's a. If you've not already seen it on Netflix, there's a film called The Irishman.
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, that was another one that.
You've seen it, yeah?
Yeah, that's another one that needs to be on my list, but I didn't get round to doing that one yet. But yeah, I have seen that one. Very good.
To that one.
Yeah, now anything like I said, those guys, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they play those parts well, don't they?
Yeah.
What's interesting about this film, Once Upon a Time in America, because it's the kind of film that Martin Scorsese might have directed, but he didn't. But it's interesting. The director was Sergio Leone, and Sergio Leone is more probably best known for the spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
For the Fistful of Dollars and A Few Dollars More and stuff like that. So maybe it had that kind of feel, that gritty feel to it.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely had that gritty feel to it.
Well, it's definitely got to be worth watching then. I'll definitely put that down as something I want to watch.
Yeah, have a watch.
Very cool. Right, Dad, what did you watch this week?
Well, I watched a ton of films this week. Somehow.
I'm not surprised.
Well, you know that I'm still focused on the old.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I like that one too. That
definitely really good.
That was quite good.
You like that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So it's a DC one.
Yeah, but yeah,
It's like one of the first ones DC did,
From the DC universe.
they did pull out all stops for that one, I think.
and it was definitely the right kind of call for them.
It was funny, wasn't it? It had the kind of Deadpool feel. Obviously not. I don't think as good as Deadpool. But
No.
you had that kind of same kind of humour going on, good dialogue and stuff
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
going on. I thought it was decent. For me, Shazam was a character. I know he's part of the DC universe, but for me, the only time I remember seeing Shazam was I'm sure it was in the Banana Split show when I was a kid. I'm sure there was a character called Shazam. I'm looking it up now.
I think he might be right there.
God, maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen Banana Splits in
Yeah.
Might be.
so was a
But
kid.
then again, it was a cartoon at some point. I thought it was in the Banana Split show. I don't know. Can't see a connection there, but it seemed. I just remember as a kid watching a cartoon called Shazam, which presumably was sort of the same character.
Yeah, I
But
think
no,
yeah.
it was good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
Yeah,
very
and you
good.
wait see if you like that one. Wait till Black Adam comes out then.
Yeah, that one looks like it could be quite good with Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Yeah, no.
Black Adam.
Yeah. It's the second instalment from Shazam.
Right. Okay. Oh, I. So it's in that same sequence.
Yeah, at the end credits, when they all sit on their thrones, there's one throne that's empty. This is where he's meant to come into it and sit, I believe.
Right.
DC's not as
Okay.
easy to read as Marvel.
Hmm.
No.
But yeah,
Okay, so that was Shazam. I also watched yesterday. I was watching on. I was looking at some things on Prime, basically. And I
yeah,
watched. I can't remember what I watched, but I remember there's a couple of films that I do remember. One was a film called Passage, and that's kind of a drama doc, a half documentary, half drama story about a guy in the 19th century called John Ray, who went in search of the. If you remember, you probably know the story about the two ships that went try to find the Northwest Passage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you probably saw the BBC TV series The Terror, which is really what that was about, where Franklin and his crew basically tried to find one, and then just went completely missing. And the Navy went and sent all kinds of search parties for him, couldn't find him anywhere. Eventually, there's this one guy who worked for the Hudson Bay Company called. His name was John Ray. Yeah, his name was John Ray, and he managed to find them. Or he came across Eskimos who had seen them. A lot of these guys when they were at the end of their lives, that were desperate and had resorted to cannibalism and stuff like that. And this was when he brought those reports back to the UK, and it went in the newspapers and stuff like that. It caused massive uproar. People would not accept that English people would resort to cannibalism.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about. The kind of the uproar that it caused. It's about him, the guy that found, discovered what what happened to the crews. But it's also about what the shitstorm he kicked off back in the UK. Now how it kind of, it didn't really damage his name, but his reputation was a little bit harmed by the fact that he basically told the truth about what he found.
Right.
And the Eskimo and people were British were much more willing to think it was the Eskimos that had actually. The Inuit people that actually who were telling this story. They're the ones that actually murdered them and eaten them. But and to this day, people from the Inuit tribes are still deeply offended by that whole insinuation. When in fact, in their culture, they would only ever want to help strangers that were stuck in the middle of situations. So it's quite a fascinating film. It's there on Prime, free to watch, and it's called Passage. Just telling that story really, and from the point of view of people that are making a film about it, that was quite interesting.
Wow, yeah, that sounds.
It's not something that I could be interested in.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. If you're interested in a bit of history, and then if you're interested in sidekick stuff, there's a I thought was quite interesting, even though I kind of, on the whole, I think sidekicks are by and large charlatans. This one story, which is based on a book by a sidekick. It was actually filmed from 2002. It's in 2 parts, and it stars Ted Danson, and I'm a big fan of Ted Danson in the lead role. And it's called Talking to Heaven, and it's about this guy who, from being a boy, is seeing visions and is kind of realising that he's got these psychic powers and can see, but he tries to kind of keep it suppressed. His parents don't approve, and his school teachers don't approve because he's brought up in a very strict Catholic upbringing, and he's like, no, he's just trying to not let anybody know about it. And he's seen a psychologist and all the rest of it because he's worried that it's some sort of condition. But eventually, through the progression of the film, he slowly starts to accept that he's got this gift, and then he gets involved with a crime, with a murder, or a serial murder. Helping the police track down a serial murder.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
From the dead kid. So I've only got to the end of part 1. I'm going to probably watch part 2 tonight of this film. It's in two parts, as I say. But yeah, even though, as I say, I believe psychics, by and large, are charlatans, I still find them interesting and fascinating. And if you anything like this appeals to you or fascinates you, then it's definitely worthwhile, worth a watch. Is Talking to Heaven.
Yeah, I might have to give that a look.
Sorry, Nathan.
Oh no, I was just agreeing.
Last but by no means least, and you know that one of my favourite genres, if not my favourite genre, is kind of 50s digging around. I always poke around and see if I can find, anything that I've missed, any little gem that I've missed somewhere. Even if they tend to be B movies and crappy movies, but even then, I'm interested even in them because I just like that I just like the whole perspective of the 50s. They're about what space and all the rest of it. Just before we went to the moon and stuff like that, how they were, what their ideas were and what their thoughts were. They were running rampant with all kinds of imaginative ideas. So a film there called The 27th Day, which I've not come across, and it's quite good, well produced. I mean, cliche in part, it's got some elements which you'll see in other films from the 50s. But the interesting thing is, I've been with all this conflict that's going on at the minute, Ukraine and Russia. I've just been avoiding the news because I really don't want to know what's going on. It just is a little worrying to me.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Actually, it's very relevant. It's very relevant because even back in, obviously this is the height of the Cold War, and so it was at that time, this was a very scary thing. It was a very scary prospect of nuclear war and stuff like that. And so, and actually in this film, 27th Day, even though I've been trying to avoid this subject, it brings it right back in the fore again because it is about an alien bringing on board a group of 5 random people from around the world, seemingly random people from around the world, onto a spaceship and giving them a mission, if you will, giving them a challenge and saying that if you can't, we don't think, our race don't think that you'll meet this challenge within the next, you've got like 27 days to do it, and because I can't tell you too much of the plot without spoiling it. But what happens is that at some point you've got a bit of an arms race heating up on the side of Russia and on the side of America, and you've got them all trying to kind of see who can get the hands on the power, the aliens, to get the upper hand in a confrontation. So I thought, that's this is also relevant right now. it's just bringing everything to mind that I don't want to be in my mind. But it was quite interesting. It was new, it was original. I've not for a film that's 65 years old. I've never come across it. I've never seen it. And as the production values are pretty good. It's a good science fiction. It's original enough, and it's worth looking at. The 27th Day, it's called.
That does sound quite interesting.
Yeah.
What a concept. What a cool concept. Aliens challenging people, like you said, essentially, to be like, oh, okay, we don't think you can do this in 27 days. Such an arbitrary number, but clearly there's got to be some kind of merit to it. What an interesting idea.
It is in the plot. It is in the plot.
What an interesting idea. No, that sounds quite good. I might have to check that one out too. But that's just, you and me in a nutshell. We have very similar tastes when it comes to something that sounds incredibly interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the last podcast, I watched the film Ikiru. That's something I had on my list for a while. That's a Japanese film directed by Kurosawa, which was definitely worth a watch. I can't remember if we did it in the last podcast, so I'll
I don't think so.
I think I might have that outside.
Akira, alright, okay.
It's that sort of anime back then. I used to love that stuff. I still do, but
yeah.
If it's the one I think it is.
You might be thinking of Akira, the one about like a murderer.
Yeah, Akira.
Yeah,
This is not Akira. Although that's a great film.
Yeah.
It's Ikiru. And
Ikiru.
It's actually a 1950s black and white film.
Yeah, that's
still,
not,
still sounds cool.
That's not the one I'm thinking of.
Again, that's not the one you're thinking of.
No, the one I'm thinking of is all in colour.
It's probably Akira.
Very gory.
Yeah, Akira.
Yeah.
That's definitely what that sounds like.
Yeah, but that's also a good film though.
Yeah.
But Akira is again, it came home to me because I've lost friends recently to cancer. I've got a friend who's got cancer and all the rest of it, family members, and this was about a guy who found out. He'd done very little in his life. He'd been very bureaucratic. He'd gone through. He'd just been working at the local government council building as a managing a department, just stamping paperwork for like 30 years, and then suddenly finds out he's got cancer and he's only got like 6 months to live, and then he has a massive. First of all, he's very depressed about it, a bit like the start of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
He's very kind of depressed about it, and like Walter, he's kind of, oh shit, what have I done with my life, and kind of what, I'm a bit, he gets just kind of really angry and annoyed about it, and then he decides he's going to do something, he can make a difference, and something happens that convinces him that how he can make a difference in the going, through the part of the film. It's quite interesting, quite new, quite fresh, like very much of Kurosawa's work. I mean, I think The Seven Samurai was his, for example. Only he made some real top-notch films with very interesting human stories, and this is definitely one of those.
Nice.
So that's what I've been watching. That's one that I can remember anyway. Well, what about you, Nathan?
So this week I have watched. Well, I've watched a film and a bit, and then I've also watched a couple more things on Netflix because they always catch my eye. And quite frankly, somehow they're always good. You can never find a really bad one. It's quite impressive. So the film I completed today, or was it today? I don't know. Over the past few days, it was called Hell House LLC because I do like me some really obscure horror films. And this one is it's on the platform Shudder, which they love to do really B-rated and obscure, really indie kind of horror films. Some of them are good, not all of them, but that's fair enough. Hell House LLC. To put it simply, I apparently watched the third one. I didn't realize there was more than one. I didn't realize that this was mislabeled. So there was quite a lot of things where I was like, I don't really know what's going on. I feel like I should. So it claims to be kind of like found footage, but it's more like a documentary style with found footage elements, is how I would describe it. And basically it was like, there's this building with a terrible history, and by watching the first two films you learn what the history is and what happens and all the references they keep making throughout this short film is what I'll call it, because it wasn't long. It wasn't long at all. And I mean, there's definitely like one really, really good scene, and that's probably about it that I can say about the film, which I can spoil it because I doubt anybody will see it, or if they have seen it, that's impressive. Basically, this woman gets dared to go into the basement alone, which you're not supposed to, obviously, because it's basically they're working a haunted house out of this hotel where people went missing and murdered and stuff. So it's supposed to be real goofy, feel good. They're trying to make it into something more positive and everything. And they're always like, okay, well, weird stuff does happen here, so don't stay alone. Keep your buddies and everything. And some of the actresses and actors are all having a drink and stuff. It's like, ooh, I dare you to go into the basement alone, because there's like these 3 really creepy clown mannequins that they use that just like sit on the floor and they have like blood on their face and everything. And they're not real, they're not alive, but they're like, okay, I dare you to go down to the basement and touch one of the clowns on the nose and then come back up. And it's like it's not a hard dare. You have to walk a bit of a way to get to it, but it's just how they've set it up. So she goes all the way down. She's got a camera on her because she's been asked to by the documentary crew, so she's doing that. And so she records herself going down into the basement, and she goes over to the corner where the clowns are. She gives one of them a smooch, like, ooh, so naughty. And then she's like pulling herself back up, and one of the clowns next to her has like turned his head to look at her. And that was probably like one of the better scenes of the film. And then as she's got the clown in shot as well as her face, like really looking shocked, but she's not freaking out. She's got that face of like, holy shit, that shouldn't have happened. And so she slowly and quietly like keeps looking at the clown on the camera and herself as she's like kind of walking away. So that was quite good, and you can see the clown is like visibly moving to look at her, and you're like, okay, that's quite interesting. But then it does something really dumb where she does have a little panic, and she kind of starts screaming and runs to the bottom of the stairs. So she's gone maybe like 5 feet. She hasn't gone far. And she's just there, just kind of wailing and sobbing. She hasn't gone up the stairs. She hasn't run out the building. She's sitting at the bottom of the steps, still basically with an eye shot of this clown, which you can hear is now moving towards her. And you're like, why are you not running away? You have this opportunity. So it was really good. Yeah, it was really good until that point, and I was like, okay, I mean, I know this film's a bit shit, but, I wanted to give it a chance. And quite frankly, I still don't really understand what happened. I wouldn't recommend it, if I'm honest. I really wouldn't. I would definitely give it a miss. So that's the film I completed. Yeah, Hell House LLC. Don't worry, I doubt anybody can find it unless you have Shudder or you're willing to pay for it, which I wouldn't. So, another film that I kind of watched, and this is the second time I kind of watched it. It's a Joaquin Phoenix film. It's called Her. It's on Netflix now.
Yeah.
And Fran and I were quite interested because and I was like, I remember seeing this, but I don't remember finishing it. And I'm like, I could have sworn it's because it's just a bit weird because it's basically this weird future where everybody uses technology as they do, but a little bit more advanced in this day and age, and he basically gets this like new operating system. I guess you could say it's like a more advanced Siri who can really she really like learns who you are and really is like more. They sound more emotional and they get really more personalized based on who you are and how it is. And he basically ends up falling in love with her. And then you're like, okay, well it's a bit goofy, whatever. But they tried to make it something incredibly serious and like almost a romance film. And it's like he's fallen in love with his cell phone. I mean, there's nothing romantic about this. Like he's fallen in love with something that is not, the only tangible part of it is it's in a computer. Like that's it. It's an AI. Like, and you're like, okay, well what if she builds a rubber body? I didn't finish the film because it ends up focusing way too much on just the wrong parts of like you don't really look. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm just like it's disturbing. It's really strange. It's a shame because Joaquin Phoenix does a really good job, but I finished about half of it and I'm like, no, it just doesn't. It just gets too weird, and it just doesn't work.
Right.
Moving on to
it's number 311 in my all-time thousand, by the way.
Oh, okay. So you thought quite well of it then. Does it get any better, or does it just continue being incredibly weird?
No, it's just more and more kind of creepy and
I thought so.
cringy.
I thought so. Because when they do their little sex scene thing, I was like, no, I think we're done with this. Because you just like, okay, well look, I understand you guys are going to have some kind of relations. That's part, it's quite clear that's going to come up. But I mean, it's a whole bloody scene, and I'm like, you did not need to put this much effort into a sex scene where he's just in a bed by himself. Just like, no, you didn't need that much. You didn't need that much scene. That was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it only gets worse, and I'm so glad I'm not going to finish it. I just have no desire to. Anyway, moving on to more positive things I've watched. So on Netflix, I've yet again been watching. Not all of them are like serial killers. Some of them are just like incredibly strange people documentaries. This one is called Worst Roommate Ever. It's a multi-part thing because it's different people and different situations. The first episode is about this incredibly old lady. I mean, the episode is literally called "Call Me Grandma" because you look at it and you're like, oh yeah. Reminds you of your nan or your granny or something like that, and she's like incredibly sweet. She like looks after people in her home, and you're like, oh wow, this lady's super super nice. But people go missing in her home, and I'd love to spoil more, but I'm not going to because it is such a cool story, and it's only an hour. I mean, it's only an hour, so it's a good hour. I highly recommend it. The story of Dorothea Puente, the first episode. Oh my god. It just kept getting better and better and better and more unbelievable. It was so good. There was another episode where it's got this guy who claims he's from Palestine, and he goes around to all these extreme races in the world and like stays at hostels and stuff, and he's incredibly like nice to everybody he meets. But it turns out he's got quite a history of scamming people out of their money. So that was quite interesting, and he defrauded so many people in such catastrophic ways. This guy who just runs. That one of the people in that documentary, he's got a blog about that guy, and he updates it with all the information about him, like based on where he is, what he's been doing and stuff, because he wants to make sure everybody who is aware of this person knows where he is and what he's doing, so you don't get scammed by him again. And that website is still up and running. I even gave it a look, and it's still going. He's updated it recently and everything. I'm like, that is so incredible, just unbelievable. And then I think there was an episode that was kind of meh, not so great, but that's going to happen, isn't it? But one of the better episodes, it's a two-parter episode, was it's about a serial squatter, and that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about him. No, honestly, worst roommate ever. If you like Netflix documentaries about serial killers or super bad situations or anything, absolutely recommend Worst Roommate Ever.
I've seen it on the list and I have considered it. I will now watch it.
I
Now you said it.
I definitely recommend it.
I forgot, in my segment, I forgot that we've watched, me and Mum will watched a Netflix drama series this week. We watched Pieces of Her with Toni Collette. That's good. That's interesting. Again, I just like things that are original and novel. And that for me is original and novel. And it starts out in a shocking way, and certainly for the first 3 episodes out of the 6 episodes, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's going to happen next, and it's like twists and turns, and you feel genuine kind of. Then around about the 4th episode, the story's unfolding. You get to learn a lot more about the backstory and why things have happened and unfolded the way they have, and some of the tension then comes out of it. And it's a little bit anticlimactic, to be honest, in the final episode. But I don't want that to spoil the fact that it's anything with Toni Collette, I will watch. Toni Collette, big, massive fan, and hopefully when we get to the comedy category, I'll talk a bit more about why that is. But no, it's just a really well put together series, and you just from the start of the first episode, if you're not hooked within the first couple of minutes because it's so cleverly done, and it draws you in, then I'll be very surprised. So that's Pieces of Her. It's not Her, and it's not anything to do. It's not a sequel to Her, which we talked about earlier.
Good.
It's completely unrelated. It's Pieces of Her on Netflix.
If Her somehow had a sequel, I swear, I don't even know how I'd feel. It is not a better love story than Twilight.
You don't watch Her too?
No, I wouldn't.
Divorce.
Oh god, never again. Tried it twice. Still no. Anyway, let's move on to our main topic at hand. Look at that. We could easily just burn 30 minutes just talking about things we've watched this week. That's just incredible. Let's move on to our second half of our top 10s. So we've all finished with our number 6s. I think we need to move on to our number 5. Oh no, I think I did my number 5. Yeah, because we talked about the Warriors.
We're out of sync with us, you are.
I could be.
You did your number 5.
Yeah, I definitely did my number 5.
You're a little bit out of sync with us. So let's say you've gone one ahead.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Me and Anthony do our number 5.
Yeah.
And
we'll go from there.
For me, I'll let Anthony go first because I want to do a little bit of a tangent on my number 5. So I'll let Anthony go first.
Well, mine's Escape from Alcatraz.
Oh, very good film.
Slash.
As well.
Pardon?
True story.
As well.
Yes, no, it is. Yeah, that's what I kind of liked about that one. And that's like stroked with Escape from New York.
Right.
So it's in between those two, but I would happily go with Escape from Alcatraz as my sixth. Yeah, 6.
This is your number 5.
Yeah, 5. Yeah, the whole thing that is based on that whole true story of them trying to escape and how plans they were. I reckon they did get off the island. I reckon they did.
You think they made it a safety?
Oh hell yeah, definitely. The amount of prep they put into that. Yeah, and then towards the end they were sending postcards to people saying where
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of like that whole how they done it. And then after they escaped, Alcatraz was no longer a prison.
Basically, yeah. I mean, the fact that it was no longer impenetrable.
Yeah.
People could actually escape from it.
They didn't want to take that chance again, so therefore, they had to shut it.
Yeah. I mean, now people can just visit it, can't they? It's like a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually visited, and it's a great tourist attraction. I've got to tell you, it's a fantastic place to visit. Very, very interesting. Very kind of got that atmosphere, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
Superb place to visit. Strongly recommend it. Anybody who happens to be San Francisco,
Yeah. Conveniently.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe somebody listening to us could be in San Francisco. In which case, send us pictures. Send us pictures of Alcatraz, just for fun.
So so if you the guys that got away, I mean the three guys that got away,
Yeah.
Most of the time, and you've probably seen this as well. The guy that gets, and I think he's the guy that Clint Eastwood plays in the film.
Yeah.
The kind of considered to be the ringleader, the guy that they think that the brothers. There were two brothers and a lead guy. I can't remember the name of the lead guy, but he's the one that they all think. I think Frank Morris it is. And I think that Frank Morris, most people attribute, he's the guy that had the brains behind it. But whether they did escape,
Yes.
and because their family insists that they did, as you say, there was any postcards and stuff like that from
That's
South America.
Yeah, I think I have seen that documentary just after watching that Escape from Alcatraz, because I was that interested and I wanted to know a little bit more on that history, and yeah, that documentary did help fill in the blanks.
Documentary, I think it's called Alcatraz Escape: The Lost Evidence. I think it's called.
That's the one.
And it's fairly recent, brilliant documentary. No, I just think that's a great story, great film, very good choice. I think good choice.
Absolutely.
See.
Well done.
Thank you.
I mean, I think John Carpenter's Escape from New York would have been a good choice as well. I mean, equally, a fantastic film.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Somewhat groundbreaking.
For the special effects and
Kurt Russell, wasn't it?
Yeah. Snake. So
That's right.
and for that era and that I thought it was quite cool for the special effects they put into that.
Yeah. No, Escape from New York was good. Absolutely.
So,
wasn't there also another one that he did? Basically, kind of the same, but it was like Escape from Los Angeles.
That was, but
yeah.
I've never even watched that.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that on the same par as those two.
No, of course. I just remember there was like a second one in the same kind of vein. I don't know if it was a sequel or whatever, but I know it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it might have been
that same kind of film. Yeah, that's cool. That's real cool. Right. So what's your number 5, Dad?
Well, so for my number 5, I've also got a categorised list, a little bit like what Anthony was saying last time, that he likes putting it into categories. He likes to go like the top 5 comedies or top 5 whatever. I've done that. I've got as well as my all-time top 1,000. I've actually got categorised versions, and so I've got a all-time top 5 comedy, and it just so happens that my number 1 all-time comedy is my number 5 all-time. I'm making it really complicated now.
No, I think we follow. Yeah, it's your number 1 comedy, but it's your top 5 overall.
Yeah.
That's right. So I thought as a little tangent, what I might do, and see if you guys like this idea, is I might actually give a little bit of suspense to get to my number 5, to as I go through what are actually my top 5 comedies, starting from number 5. So if you're interested in that, I'll zip through it.
Go on then.
And then we can compare notes. We can hear what you guys like in terms of comedies. What's the top of your list? Alright, so top 5 comedies of all time for me. Number 5 is With Neil and I. Which I don't know if have you seen that film?
I don't think so.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Well, it's a bit of a cult classic from the as a British comedy movie from the 1990s. It's a film that it's certainly, if you like, what do you call it? Damn it, my bloody brain at the minute. Let me see. I have to get a bit of help here from IMDb. Sorry about that.
It's alright. It's not cheating.
If you like
Richard E. Grant.
I think it's Richard E. I'm just
Yeah.
getting there. Richard E. Grant. Yeah, English actor Richard E. Grant, who tends to be more in comedic movies, but not exclusively comedic movies.
No, yeah.
And if you like Paul McGann, you like the McGann brothers, then this is a good film for you, because basically they play a pair of just basic dropouts. They're living in London. They're not quite squatting, but they're living in real depravity, in real kind of slum conditions, in a nice location. But they're not looking after the place, and all they're doing is spending time getting high, getting drunk. They're basically out of work actors. They're kind of just out.
I think I might have seen this one.
Right, and And so they in this house, and they're just all they're doing is just jerking off all day. They can't get work, and so they're just getting drunk or getting high, smoking pot and what have you. And it's their life just rambling, it just out of control and real stupid. And then decide to have a trip to the country to kind of clear the air a little bit, clear their heads, and it's about the trip to it's about that little trip to Wales where they go to visit the house, little old second home of the rich uncle of one of the pair. And just the shenanigans that they get up to when they're over there, and it's very funny. It's extremely funny. So it's I wouldn't say it's a stoner movie. I mean, it's kind of, I suppose, a little bit. It starts out that way, but it's not exclusively about that. It just is really about two stupid young individuals who haven't got their life sorted out, trying to find their way, and just not having a clue and doing some. Being stuck out in the country in the middle of nowhere, thinking that's going to be amazing for them, and finding that they've got to now figure out how to get by. And there's a little subplot there involving the uncle, played by Richard Griffiths, who is a very, very funny, very well-known TV. Actually, he's Jack Whitehall's uncle, believe it or not. But he was a well-known TV actor in his day. You'll recognise his face. You'll have seen him on programmes on TV. He plays the uncle. And he's an effeminate, I think, a gay uncle who's got his eye on one of the two characters, and so it's just hilarious. Those moments and that little bit of interplay, all the interplay between them is hilarious. Richard E. Grant's performance in particular is hilarious because he's just so obnoxiously, kind of aggressively, just funny. And then when he's faced with real danger, with anybody who wants who doesn't like his tone of voice, he ends up kind of shying away from it. But yeah, it's well worth a watch. So that's Withnail Eye, Withnail, Withnail Eye. That is number 5. Number 4 for me is my all-time comedies. One of my favourite comedies would be Nacho Libre.
Yeah.
And I probably don't need to say too much about that.
Fantastic. Good old Jack Black.
I went to watch that.
Anything with Jack Black in
Yeah, absolutely. Anything with Jack Black, I totally agree. Anything with Jack Black in. Possible exception of Gulliver's Travels. I thought that was a bit.
I quite like that one, but
Gulliver's was okay.
I like that.
I think the house with the clock at its walls was also kind of meh.
Goosebumps.
Yeah. So she's done a couple that are kind of meh.
Yeah.
But my all-time funny one that I love with him in it, Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one?
Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
And he's almost in that. Brilliant. And I mean, I thought that film overall was a bit silly, but you couldn't have had a more amazing cast doing just coming out with the most outrageous stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly, and especially for me at the end of that film, Tom Cruise.
There's a little trivia about that. He took that role just because he wanted to be in a fat suit. He was like, I'm only doing this role as long as I get to dress up in a fat suit and sing and dance. And yeah, that's how he got that part.
Superb.
He played that so good.
That's good. It was just hilarious. Just an hilarious scene. Fantastic.
Yeah.
My favourite bit of the movie. No, there's all kinds of that movie had a lot going for it, definitely.
Yeah.
Overall, to me, it didn't mesh very well, but it certainly had definitely had great moments.
Yeah.
So Robert Downey Jr. playing it.
I didn't want to bring that character up just in case. Yeah.
It's the most ridiculous. So now I think about it, actually, I quite like it. But yeah, for me, so Nacho Libre, it's not just Jack Black. I mean, Jack Black alone is enough for me to make it a great movie, a great comedy. But also, it just so happens to be directed by Jared Hess, who directed Napoleon Dynamite. The next film he made after Napoleon Dynamite.
I could definitely. I can see that.
I mean, that almost needs to be in the top 5 itself anyway. So I'm not really sure why I even put Nacho Libre ahead of Napoleon Dynamite, with that being such a fantastic film, fantastically funny film, start to finish. But yeah, Jared Hess hasn't made very many movies, and I'm booked on. I'm always on the lookout for any new Jared Jared Hess movie, and they all tend to be a bit quirky, a bit funny, like Napoleon Dynamite was, but sometimes a little bit too far.
I'm gonna get another beer.
But yeah, so that's naturally rare. You both know everything about that, and anybody who hasn't seen or heard about it, it's about a monk who wants to be a wrestler in a Catholic, in a strict Catholic monastery in South America, and that's all I'm going to say. Jack Black plays a monk.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is part of the Cornetto trilogy, but probably not the part that everybody expects to be the best one, which is The World's End, the last of the 3 in the Cornetto trilogy with Simon Pegg.
Yeah, I like that. Anything with those two in it, funny as. I think those two work so well together. Simon Pegg and
they do.
Yeah, I've got quite a few of theirs on my list.
Yeah, and Edgar Wright, the director, of course. So Edgar Wright, he's kind of the trio. Those two, but playing together, always they've got fantastic chemistry.
Yeah,
it always works when they bounce off each other. The characters always manage it. The dynamic is always very good.
and it's believable.
When Edgar Wright's also directing.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, sorry?
So that when they are both together, it's believable that their characters they're playing, they portray it that it is believable.
Realistically.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think that's part of the fun of it, is that they're completely credible, even though they're in incredible situations like in this one where there's an alien invasion going on.
And they've got to save it by having to finish off their pub crawl.
They bring it down to earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just love the pub crawl.
Yeah.
And Nathan will probably tell you that I like it that much, the idea of a pub crawl of 12 pubs, and what you did when you dropped out of school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like those ideas appeal to me so much, and I encouraged my other son Jordan to let us use his birthday party or his birthday as an excuse to simulate that pub crawl in Mevagissey.
No, that would be fun.
It was.
That would have been fun. Especially in Meva.
We don't live there now, so. No, you'd have liked it. You'd have enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie's a lot of fun. So that's The World's End. That's my number 3. Now my number 2. So this is close. Number 2 and number 1 are very close, because so to me, my all-time favourite Christmas movie is also my all-time second favourite comedy, and it is, of course, Bad Santa.
Ah.
With Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
And leading an extremely funny cast. The whole cast are funny, unbelievably funny, and again, part of the appeal for me with Bad Santa, well, it's just the dialogue. It's just funny as shit. Just all the way through. It's just such irreverent comedy all the way through. Every bit of the dialogue, every character. Bernie Mac in one of his last films. Just absolutely John Ritter in one of his last films.
Mm-hmm.
Every character in that film adds to the comedy. They're all funny in their way and what they put into it. Tony Cox, what a funny film. Just start to finish. The young lad, the actor that plays the young lad. I think I'm trying to find him in the cast here, but I can't find him.
Yeah, you think he'd show up a lot? He's quite one of the main characters, really.
Yeah, Bad Santa.
He is really. He's kind of the next number 2 after Billy Bob Thornton, isn't he?
Yeah. You think?
But I think that Brett Kelly. Anyway, Brett Kelly. I'm thinking. So it just I could just watch that film over and over again, because from start to finish, it's almost like it's filled with laughs. It's just funny all the way through. It's just so amazingly funny, it's a toss-up between that and the other film. It really is. It's kind of a big battle between these two for me, all-time favourite comedy, because I just really truly love this film. So I'm guessing you've both seen Bad Santa anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, just filled with irreverent laughter. Oh, that's it. The other interesting thing about it is he was directed by Terry Zwigoff, and again, much like with Jared Hess, anything that Terry Zwigoff does, I want to see. So I'm always on the hunt for films that he's made. Another film that he's made that I love is Ghost World. He did his film version of that. I think Terry Zwigoff was involved in other things, Art School Confidential, wasn't it? Keen on that film. something to do? Wasn't he involved in somehow in some sort of comedy, cartoons? Maybe not. Okay, might be gay. But his humour, which is injected into Bad Santa and Bad Santa 2, which is pretty decent as well. You know, nowhere near as good as Bad Santa, the first Bad Santa, but still pretty decent and still full of laughs. I just think they're amazing. But he got pipped to the post by my all-time favourite comedy, which also happens to be my all-time number 5 film, and that is This Is Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah? You with me on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good film. You've all seen it?
That's a great choice.
I mean, it's what can I say? It was the first, I'm sure it wasn't the first ever mockumentary. It was the first ever kind of mockumentary, certainly that I've ever seen. And they just did it so well. I mean, they just did it so well. They seemed to capture anyway, I'm not being part of a rock band, so I don't know how true it is, but certainly a lot of musicians seem to think they captured how it really is, the stupidity and the nonsense that goes on the circus that is the industry.
Yeah.
And again, just so funny all the way through. It's just and well performed, and everything's there's a reason why all the 3 main actors in that, the guys that were in the band, have all gone on to still to this day are all well known, but famous, and been lots of other great stuff, and have continued to do mockumentaries. You know, there's a reason for it, and that's because it's the best. So that's my all-time favourite comedy, and it's my all-time number 5 favourite film.
That's fair play. Yeah, I can absolutely respect that. Because, like you said, it's just a fantastic film. The fact that it's like I said, it's a mockumentary about this rock band, rock or metal, however you want to describe them, that doesn't really exist, but they capture, they capture just the ridiculousness of the industry, and it's just really funny to watch. Oh, I completely agree.
And again, it's directed by Rob Reiner, who is again an incredible director, who also directed When Harry Met Sally, classic like that. Son of and various other classics. In fact, I want to say Rob Reiner. I think he directed Don't Look Up as well, the most recently. I could be wrong about that. But his dad was also before him. His dad was a famous director, Carl Reiner, and he was huge as well. But Rob Reiner's been involved in lots of. Rob Reiner did The Wolf from Wall Street. I can tell you that much.
Okay, I get you.
But I don't know if he did. But he was.
Yeah, because Don't Look Up felt incredibly different than both of those films. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's fair. Yeah, fair point. I mean, not all of his films. He does a lot of rom-com. Does Rob Reiner? But yeah, I thought. For me, he just kept with it. It came out in 1986. When it came out, I remember there was a TV series on at the time called Film 86. Every year it kept changing. Film 87, Film 88, whatever.
Yeah.
On the BBC, and it was hosted by a guy called Barry North, who was always very brilliant host, really good film critic. And I remember him just showing the clips from this film, and straight away, as soon as I saw all the clips, one of the clips was when they're in the pods. They're coming out of the pods in the futuristic song that they have, and then one of the first, what's his face, Derek Smalls, gets caught in the pod, and they can't get him out, and so all the roadies, while the song's going on, the roadies are trying to get him out, blowtorch and everything, trying to get him out there.
Yeah.
I thought, as soon as I saw that clip, I thought, I must see that film. It's so funny, and I wasn't wrong about that. But anyway, that's my all-time top 5. I should say that I've got an all-time top 5, and I won't tell you what's in that list. All-time top 5 rom-com list as well somewhere.
I mean, look, it's all good episodic content for us in the future. So don't worry, you just keep making these lists, and we'll have more podcasts. No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it. That's my top 5 comedies. Do you want to chip in on any, your top 5 comedies or anything that you think probably ought to be in that list for yourselves?
America.
I mean, yeah. So up to America, that's a pretty good shout. I was also thinking Step Brothers, But quite frankly, almost any Will Ferrell tends to be really, really funny.
Anchorman.
See,
anything.
another great choice.
Yeah, anything with him in it.
Absolutely. Or Simon Pegg, Nick Frost films like Shaun of the Dead.
We covered him a
see?
minute ago. So yeah,
I'm not surprised. Yeah,
I look quite like that now. Now you see me.
Yeah,
you know,
the magic heist and stuff.
What's
I
his
like
name?
that.
Ruffalo in it. So
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo. That's true. It had
that was what I saw before he became the Hobbit.
like slightly comedy, but it was more like thriller. Really, is nice. But it's in my notable mentions for a good reason because it was it's just a great idea for a film. I was like, oh, these expert magicians in their own different ways and like commit heists and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, that's quite cool. And then it's like, oh, okay, the police are trying to track them down. So it's not just you watch the heist, but you also watch how other people try to stop them from committing the heist.
Exactly.
I
quite like that, and the second one, which usually seconds don't really par up with the first.
And they've got a great cast. I mean, like we said, Morgan Freeman's even in it. Michael Caine. You've got
Woody Harrelson,
Jesse Eisenberg. You've got one of the Francos. I think Dave Franco's in it. God, I don't remember the name of the lady. That's so bad. But so embarrassing. But I mean,
it's always slightly sexist.
Yeah. Well, she was the only one.
Didn't she played the FBI agent?
No, I'm talking about the female magician.
Oh, no.
Not the FBI agent that I definitely don't remember. I'm talking about one of the main characters that I don't remember, which is just awful.
I know you mean. Yes, redhead.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name either.
It's Isla Fisher.
Oh wow, yeah, I would have not got that.
No.
You wouldn't have got that, no.
No.
I would have gone with Amy Adams when I was looking at it, thinking.
Yeah, I could see that.
Fisher.
I could definitely have seen that. Or it also made me think of Karen Gillan, but I know it wasn't her because it's definitely not like a Scottish woman.
No, I see what you're saying.
Just
there.
a redhead kind of thing. Yeah, it's terrible of us. But actually, she comes up later on in my list anyway. No, yeah, it's. I mean, I've got some good names coming up on my list later on anyway. It's fine. But yeah, I mean comedy's always a good genre in my opinion. If you cannot enjoy a comedy, it's because you don't truly know what happiness is, in my opinion. You have to be able to laugh at so many things. You have to be able to laugh at stuff. If you can't, I mean, what are you doing with your life? It's just dreadful then.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with comedy. Is that the other thing is if you're looking for something to lift your spirits or cheer you up, then you can't be a decent comedy.
Quite right.
More than her,
change your mood.
Yeah. So we all know what my number 5 was based on the last podcast episode. It was The Warriors, which I'm sure we could go on and on about it, but we'll glance over because we've already covered that at the end of the last one. We'll move on to the number 4s. Anthony, what is your number 4? Top 10 of all time. It's tough. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's why I had to force numbers on these. I had to, otherwise I
didn't put any numbers because I couldn't.
Do you want us to come back to you?
No, I've got a list here. It's just picking, like. I'd have gone with Cabbage Patch Kids. Did you ever see that movie?
Is it a horror film, or is it about the actual Cabbage Patch Kids?
Yeah, it's
like toys. Yeah,
no, it's nothing about the toys.
Okay.
It's more suit animation, if you know what I mean. So their characters are in suits. This is like back in the 80s.
Oh, almost like costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you. I thought you meant like they dress up like toys in like three-piece suits or something. I'm like, what on earth are you talking about? I was so confused. Okay, yeah, so in costumes, I get you.
It's just one of these ones I watched as a kid that's always stuck with me. People might have said it's a bad film, but
what can you tell us about it?
I won't say they're aliens, but they're from outer space and they get put into.
So this is like a goofy horror kind of thing. Okay.
Well, it's more of a comedy, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
do they get put into the field like the Cabbage Patch Kids?
No, it's nothing like that at all.
It has nothing to do with Cabbage Patch Kids. Why is it called Cabbage Patch Kids? I'm really curious.
Because that's the name of.
Why is it called?
See, even he wants to know why is it called Cabbage Patch Kids.
Because that's the name that they were given because they were all. So you got like Windy, Sneezy, Puke. The list
The
goes on.
dwarves. The seven dwarves. I am so confused right now. So now we've got the names of the seven dwarves in the film, but it's called Cabbage Patch Kids, and it has nothing to do with Cabbage Patch Kids. I am so confused.
I don't think it's the Cabbage. I think it's called the Garbage Pail Kids.
Okay. See, Garbage Pail Kids. Yeah, I'm with you. Very different film than the Cabbage Patch Kids. Oh, okay. Garbage Pail Kids. I'm with you. Go.
That's making slightly more sense.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us anything about it?
So basically, it's a 1987 USA film. It's really.
That's about it. That's all.
It's very hard to explain any more.
Do you remember any of the plot or any of the people? Because I know the name Garbage Pail Kids. I have heard of it before. I haven't seen it, but I do know of it.
I would think you might have to watch it.
But I don't know.
Yeah, some people are rating it really low, and like I said, it all depends on what your.
Yeah, it depends on your own taste and stuff. Absolutely. I've got in one of my notable mentions. I've got the film Trolls 2, which was an absolutely horrendous film. But I put it in there because it makes you laugh when you realise, yes, it was ridiculous. No, they didn't mean to make it ridiculous, but they've accepted the fact that it is ridiculous, and they're like, you know what? It's fine. It's a fucking shit film. Even the people who made it are like, yes, it is a piece of shit, and we're very sorry about that. But everybody thinks it's hilarious because of how goofy it is, and it is a terrible film.
Well, it's a cult movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cult movie now, and it's freely available on YouTube, by the way.
Exactly. That's giving me a mix of E.T. vibes or Dinosaurs, the television series.
Yeah, similar.
That looks creepy.
But it's more like.
For those who can't see what we're doing because we don't have video yet, we will eventually. We will do a video podcast at one point. He was showing me a picture of some of the Garbage Pail Kids, and yeah, pretty creepy.
So
Very creepy.
Yeah, they've classed it as a comedy family, but
I mean, I can. Okay.
If you like potty humour, basically, it's full of that.
Hey, no, nothing wrong with that. No, I do like some potty humour. As we were even talking about Bad Santa, another fantastic film with tons of potty humour.
Yeah, same with Team America.
Yeah, Team America. Not so much Will Ferrell. He doesn't do that too much, really, but he will sometimes in a couple, but not too much. Jack Black, he'll do some potty humour, but yet again, also doesn't have to use it too much.
I would really put Jack Black in the.
It just depends on the comedian, like you can tell what kind of stylings a comedian has, and some of them do use potty humour a lot, and that's absolutely fine because then it becomes their part of their repertoire, and I think that's understandable.
Yeah.
As long as they can be funny and not have to 100% use that language, then I think they're onto something. But if it's all they do is use fuck, shit, this, that, if that's all they do, then it kind of loses the taste and the value, and it's not as funny anymore. You're like, okay, well, you didn't have any other words, did you?
Yeah, didn't I? Yeah. But yeah, that one's mine.
Okay, so that's your number 4. Dad, what is your number 4 of all time?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so my all-time number 4, which would also be my all-time favourite horror film, I would say.
Okay.
Is The Shining.
That's on my list too.
Mine's
it's
in my notable mentions, but it's in there. Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, anything like that. He's another actor that should be
top
high. Yeah,
top notch.
You cannot beat that guy at anything he put his hands to.
Absolutely, it's always worth watching, no matter what he's in. I mean, I certainly when it first came out, didn't even. I was still quite young, and I wasn't really bothered about it. I wasn't that impressed with it. It took me a long time even to watch it for the first time. Nothing about it really appealed to me for many years. And in fact, if you tell me it's a Stephen King story, that appeals to me less. I'm not a massive fan of Stephen King. I do like a lot of films being made based on his books.
Have you?
But this film
I was going to say, have you seen the second part to The Shining? Doctor Sleep?
Doctor Sleep, I have, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really available on Prime at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, I recently watched
Oh
that.
my god, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I recently watched that, and I thought that one was, wow. That one's, you know,
It's good. It's
Yeah.
very good. I thought it was good.
Ewan McGregor,
Very
man,
good. A good sequel.
yeah.
A bit near the knuckle. Quite disturbing, perhaps.
Yes.
But it was, yeah, I think that was a fitting follow-up. But just what is about The Shining? I've watched it now many times. So I said it took me a while to kind of shine to it. Eventually, when I eventually watched it, then I kind of wanted to watch it again. Over the years, it's just grown and grown on me, and it's gone up and up in my listing, in my estimation. And what I love about it is it's just the way that Stanley Kubrick has put it together. I know that Stephen King hated this film
Yeah.
because he felt that Stanley Kubrick took the story and made it his own. He just created his own spin. He just changed so many things from Stephen King's original story. His essential story is there, but he just put his own stamp on it, and in some cases deliberately, almost to annoy, to antagonise Stephen King. He made deliberate changes, but it's just so full of, you know, just stuff, just references and Easter eggs and things to look out for. And
Yeah, I was going to say that
the
there.
documentary's being made now about how
Yeah.
complex it is.
Like
You know,
how they
what it's
made
all about,
the
what the story's all about with this.
hedge maze and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
a big.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the hedge maze before in another episode.
We did, and we're back to it.
See, come full circle.
There's a film called, the documentary film called Room, what's it now? I think it's Room, what's that film? What's that room? What is the room in the
1408.
Something. No, not 1408, not that, although that's another good Stephen King film. It is...
Oh, you talk about in the actual
Yeah.
hotel. 3, 4...
Yeah, in the actual
I can't remember now.
I thought it was 3, 4 something.
Yeah, I thought it was like 347.
Might be.
It's not showing up on room 237 maybe.
Yeah, we'd look it up, but the internet...
Yeah,
it's not great here for us. So.
Here we are. Okay, so here we are. It's room 237.
Ah, we were close.
There's actually a documentary. It's worth watching the documentary Room 237 because there's some really fascinating theories in this from different perspectives about what The Shining is all about, and not so much what the book by Stephen King is all about. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Stephen King was he spent time at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, and he was kind of isolated for a while and decided he's going to write a book there about his experiences, but I think it was a rough time in his life. I think his marriage was in trouble or what have you, and so some of what was going on in the story is based on his own personal experiences, and he threw in the history of the Stanley Hotel, which was haunted and famously haunted and stuff like that. And he came up with an interesting story, but what Stanley Kubrick has done with the film, so many different theories on what the film is about. Is it about the moon, you know, the fake moon landing, which a lot of people think was fake and made with film by Stanley Kubrick? Is it about, you know, the Americans' conquest of America and the massive massacre of all of it? It's some really weird theories, but if you watch the film, the documentary film Room 237, it's amazingly plausible. It's really well argued, and it just shows the amount of how many dimensions there are in this film, how well put together, how complex it is, and what a great job Stanley Kubrick did. So for me, I mean, every time I watch it, I'm always looking for those interesting little aspects, little tidbits, and it's just every piece of it is interesting and intriguing, and you can, you know, just pull it apart and just you can take out, there's dozens of individual scenes which are just fascinating and draw you in, little stories in their own selves. So yeah, I'm ranting on about it, not ranting on about it, but I've ranted on about it quite a bit, and yeah, I just love that film. So that is The Shining, my number 4.
That is a great choice for number 4. I couldn't agree more.
No, I couldn't either.
Thank you.
Well,
Right.
What about you, Nathan? What's your number 4?
Yeah, so my number 4, I think you'll both agree with me when I say both the older classic one and the newer one are both great in their own right. It's Jumanji.
oh, yeah.
Jumanji.
Yeah. Whether you're talking about the older Robin Williams version, rest in peace, the late great Robin Williams, or the newer version, which, despite the fact it's kind of different, but it's also got a great cast,
But, yeah,
and it's made so different enough that you're like, okay, well look, it could be a movie without having to even talk about the old Jumanji. It could just be a whole new thing of itself, and it's got a great cast, it's got a great story, and they vibe incredibly well. I mean, you have to respect.
Yeah, I liked how they updated it. So instead of a board game, it went into a digital video game, and I was, wow, that's what. When I first watched it, I was like, I thought it was going to be kind of crap.
But actually, I was like, what, they've done it justice, because it's not like I hate to bring this up, but a terrific example is how Ghostbusters. Look, I'm not sexist, I'm not, but the female Ghostbusters was trying to be basically a whole new thing while completely discrediting the older Ghostbusters, and that's just the wrong way to do it. Whereas Jumanji was like, okay, look, we know about the older ones. We're not trying to make it sound like we're the only ones in existence. Obviously we're all tied in together at the end of the day. And, they paid respect to the older form, which is good.
That's why I liked the whole updated from a board game to a digital.
Well, like you said, they just tried to make it more relevant to today's day and age, while not completely discrediting the original. Which I think that was the right way to go about it.
The cast alone was just funny.
Absolutely. You got Kevin Hart, you got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you've got Jack Black, you've got Karen Gillan. You have an excellent choice of cast, and they all vibed so well. The fact that they have to pretend they're like these younger kids, you really get that feeling from the way they act in the film.
Like I said, when you get one like that, amazing.
Honestly, fantastic. So yeah, whether it be the older Jumanji or the newer one, not the sequel of the newer one, not so much that one, but the newer one or the older one of Jumanji 1, fantastic. Absolutely, definitely deserves a spot for my number 4.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting to like it. I've not seen the first one, I've only seen bits of it, and I didn't think I'd like the new Jumanji because it's not kind of adventure, it's a family movie, adventure, it's a lot of action. I'm not mad on action films.
It's similar to Adventure 2.
But actually, when I watched it, I really did like it. I think it's really well put together, and as you say, the cast is great.
Yeah.
And they perform it so well, and they come across, they do the kids really convincingly.
Yeah.
I mean, they carry off the performance of being the kids really well. And I think that runs into the second as well. I know you weren't so keen on the second, but I think that same thing in the second. They do a good job of changing up the roles they're playing.
Yeah.
And then
I do agree. I do agree, especially because in the second one they constantly change between the kids based on I think there's a thing in the video game or whatever. And I thought that was really well done because it's okay, well look, they could easily get a little sloppy with some of this, can get real confusing. But you're right, they performance-wise, even in that second one, really, really well done. But it just felt like it was just a bit too gimmicky. It was just a bit too much at this point. You had that first one, it was really good. It's kind of stupid that they had to go with the sequel. It's like you didn't learn from the first one, honestly. It's
Yeah, the sequel was like the same story.
It was just a shame on you kind of situation, Just, you've already gone to the pitfall, you figured out how to get out, fantastic, and yet in the second one of the guys like, I'm going to go back in, like, the fuck is wrong with you? It's just stupid. But despite that person feeling, you're right, the performances still, you got to give it to them. They did very, very well, honestly. I mean, yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, I think what they did wrong there then is that I agree with you on the premise was wrong, basically, and it's because they shouldn't have wrapped up. If they expected they might be making a sequence, and they must have expected there was a possibility of sequence. You don't just steal it up completely, like Smash the Game and all the rest of it at the start. You don't make it so final, so that you don't have an easy in.
Exactly.
Now the way I'm going to go back in, it's very contrived, it feels contrived, and so right from the start, you're thinking, oh, no, that's a bit stupid.
Yeah.
It's, you're stretching out. When you're watching films, you've got to suspend disbelief, haven't you?
Yeah.
And a good film is a film that enables you to suspend disbelief.
That you're fully immersed into that story, and you're like, wow, okay.
And you wouldn't have thought everybody's so stupid.
Yeah.
Believable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to Anthony's point earlier on about the the Cornetto trilogy and the combination of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, because they're believable. They make it
that
easy
good,
to
yeah.
suspend disbelief. They're in unbelievable situations, but they're so believable. They're so realistic. It's like they're day-to-day guys. So that they really help you to suspend disbelief.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's all about the casting at the end of the day. If
Yeah.
they all merge
And
together.
the story. I mean, look, you can have a great cast and the story is
Could be
shit.
shit,
It's still not going to be great. You know, you have to get everything right. Quite
That's
frankly, if
right.
you ask me, in the second film, okay, the one guy, he chose to go back in. The other guys could have been like, no, we're not going to go back in, and it could have just been him stuck in that video game, and I would have been like, you know what, that's a better film. That's because I didn't see that coming. The fact that his friend just abandoned him, I would have thought that would have been a great choice. Because like, okay, things change over time. People grow up. People are like, no, we're not going to go back into that shit. You chose to do it. That's on you. That would have been a way better story than, friendship is power. We have to go save our friend. Like, no. You're all older now. You've done this shit before. Don't go back in. You're not that dumb.
Leave him. Leave him today.
That would have been so much better to watch because like clearly it grew up and people changed. That would have been a far better story to have told. But that's just me. I don't write films, but I'm just saying.
I agree.
Anyway, moving on. Anthony,
Mine.
you're number 3.
Gremlins.
Oh, now that's a choice.
And I mean all of the Gremlins, but the first one for me as a child, I love that little gizmo. If I could have a little Mogwai like that in my life, I'd be happy.
Just don't get him wet and you don't feed him after midnight. That's right.
Don't take him in the bath.
Yep.
That's all. Don't do that.
They're like cats.
Then that's okay.
No, my cat's like the shower. No, yeah, it's crazy.
Honestly, no, that is a great show.
Or anything like that when you put them in the shower.
No.
They swim.
All right.
Well, cats can swim apparently, but
Some
I don't
cats
know.
swim. I think there's I think it's called river cats or something. I don't know. There's like a specific breed of cats who they love going in water. Like they live in that kind of stuff. I'm like, it's crazy to think because any other cat you think of, you're like, no, they hate the stuff. They will lose their shit. They'll claw everything up. And yet there's like a whole breed of cat who's like they love swimming. They love going in streams. They love they're like dogs in that sense. It's like incredible to think.
So yeah, that's my 4th.
I definitely understand. Gremlins, fantastic film. I remember seeing it when I was younger, and even though it's supposed to be, I think it's a comedy horror. It's not meant to be scary. It's not meant to be too goofy funny, but it's got a good blend of these creatures are kind of freaky, terrifying, but at the same time, they might kill a few people, but they're not devastating. It's the right kind of blend. It's honestly really funny.
I can't remember who was the guys behind
Is it Jim Henson?
I was going to say Jim Henson. I'm pretty sure it is.
Is it?
It's Steven Spielberg film.
No, yeah, that's but I meant
We met in Puppets, I would have thought Jim Henson.
No, it's something Winston.
Winston Churchill.
No.
This is after he obviously died in 1965, so when he came back to life again.
Yeah, obviously.
No.
As you regularly do.
I'll see if I can find it. I'm on there.
I'm pretty sure it's something
It
Winston.
feels like a Jim Henson kind of a thing. But I could totally be wrong.
To be honest, he was more the puppets.
Well, yeah.
Muppets,
But
that side of things.
that's exactly what I was thinking. I don't think it was a Jim Henson film, but I do believe he
think
had a hand
I
in
think
it
he did have a hand helping out.
because I mean they were so well done. Like I could totally believe that it was Jim Henson.
I can't remember what it was. Something Williams anyway, or something that
John Williams, yeah.
the dude that made
Not John Williams, not Serena Williams. Which Williams?
I can't remember now.
Production management, second unit, art department. Yeah, I can't see any special effects.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of names here.
I'm sure.
Visual effect. Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Because it had good production value. Because I mean, this wasn't like the newest film, and yet if you get even if you watch it today, you'd be like, actually, this is quite well done. You feel like it is quite realish. Obviously it's not.
It is a Spielberg film. I mean,
It's definitely a Spielberg.
One of the executive producers. So
Yeah.
Directed by Joe Dante and written by Chris Columbus, who's also written quite a lot of big 80s things. But in terms of I'm
That's what I'm looking for now. It's not there either.
So, I mean,
but I'm pretty sure it was definitely.
Henson tagged it. It does seem like the kind of project that Henson would do. But
Okay.
because it wouldn't have been Lucas.
No.
Although I could see how some of them would feel almost like a Yoda kind of puppet. But was that not still Henson, or was that? Because I think that was through Lucasfilm, wasn't
it?
Yeah, but I don't. Unless that was George Lucas. I don't know if George Lucas did the puppeteering, obviously, but under the company, I imagine. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think Yoda was Henson.
Yeah, I believe
which is why it made me think of Henson. But then again, when you think of excellent puppeteering, Henson is like the name you think of. So I think that's why I went naturally for that. What about in the Labyrinth? Was that Henson? I think that was Henson as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was definitely involved in that one for sure.
Like every excellent puppeteering film, Henson, he's involved. If you see Henson in it, you know it's got
going to be
excellent
a good,
stuff.
Good puppetry.
Yeah, he just
he's
knows.
Definitely he's definitely the leader in that genre.
Absolutely.
The Muppets were and Sesame Street. I mean, they were groundbreaking. Now he's old hat now. Anybody that's born now in recent times or in the last even themselves in the last 3 decades, it's kind of it's commonplace. But actually, when it started out, Muppets and Sesame Street just groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely revolutionary.
What a great idea for children's programming.
Was used by and these effects, this kind of style of puppetry was used heavily in all kinds of films. So yeah, Henson's definitely a big name.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, Anthony will try to look into it. So we're on number 3 now. Dad, what is your number 3?
My number 3. Okay. So now it gets really close now. It really is. This is my number 3, but there's my number 3, 2, and 1. Really, they're kind of not interchangeable, but they're so close.
I get you.
There's been times when they've moved about.
100%.
Well, number three is something you'll be familiar with and not surprised by, and that's Inception. Which, of course,
you're shitting me.
That's
That's my number 3. Yeah, it's been on my list since like last week. My number 3.
Right on back to Gremlins. It's Rick Baker.
Rick Baker. He did the puppetry.
The special effects.
Oh, the special effects. Okay. We'll look into the puppetry. We'll look into that later. But Rick Baker. Well done, Rick Baker. Well done, you. So I guess we can both talk about. Well, we can all talk about Inception, really. So, Dad, why don't you start us off?
I mean, so you know the story for me with Inception is out watching.
What a disappointment.
And that's what it is for Inception for me.
I completely understand. I mean, you got the whole. The best way to describe it, obviously, is anybody would have ever seen it. It's a dream within a dream, and it just then it starts warping your idea of reality. You've got this hardcore crack team who has to go into this guy's dream, his mind essentially. The whole idea of Inception is incepting is to put the idea in somebody else's head like it was their own. Like you're trying to. Not so much brainwash, but you're trying to gently persuade them to think, yes, this is what I should be thinking, and this was my own idea. Nobody else told me to do it. Because when you're in your dream, you're essentially in control. That's like the whole idea behind it. They're trying to incept a specific idea into this guy's head. This crack team who somehow through crazy machinery that they have, they're able to go into his dream. They're trying to blend in. They're trying to find him. They're trying to get this idea in his head, but things kind of go wrong, and they have to go levels deeper and deeper, like you go a dream within a dream. And they always say, oh, well, the further in you get, I think it's like 4 levels in, or whatever, like you might not come back, or it's far more dangerous and stuff. Time moves differently, and it's such an interesting concept, done so well. And yet again, it's another fantastic Leonardo DiCaprio movie. You've got Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You have
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, you've got an interesting cast who play it incredibly strong, and they just deliver such an insane story with such a great performance. And they've got that little bit of a romancy thing in there, but it's the second seat in the car. But it still plays enough of a role where you're interested, you're curious, but it's not too much that it takes away from the overall excitement and main story plot. Because it all still ends up in this absolutely mad world. And then, not just that mad world, but then you've got an even deeper mad world, and then yet another even deeper mad world. It keeps you so enthralled in this incredible action the entire time. Honestly, yeah, that's why I think, I had to have it in my top 10. And yeah, number 3 felt right. I felt like maybe it could be higher depending on the day. Like with you, they can shift and stuff. But no, I absolutely believe it absolutely deserved to live on this list. And it's just really, really funny that both you and I have it as our number 3. I couldn't believe you said that.
Same number. Yeah.
So funny, so funny. So yeah, that's both yours and my number 3 of all time. I couldn't agree more. Inception, it's a film you can watch countless times and still be like, you know what, I think of this now. It comes up with new theories every time. Such a great film.
Yeah. And you want to talk about special effects?
Oh
my god.
Unbelievable.
Okay, I know there's a lot of CGI involved, but still.
But CGI was top notch though. It wasn't, I don't believe that. It looked really felt good.
I think that's the first time I saw Paris turned upside down.
Yeah, it just really warps your whole idea of filmmaking. You're like, wow. And then you've even got that one awesome scene with Joseph Gordon-Levitt doing a little fight scene in the rotating corridor. You're like, this is so cool. It feels almost Matrix-like. It's so good.
How on earth did they do that? That ain't just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
What a great film.
Just a thrill ride start to finish, and it even leaves you still guessing.
Yeah.
So it's a bit perturbing in that way.
It does. It's fantastic film. So, if it's not in everybody's top 10, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. I guess that moves us on to number 2. Anthony, do you want to take us away?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not the new lot. I mean the original.
Ninja Turtles. The original. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one. It's only 1990, but still, it was quite. Yeah, it's quite good for the first. But the first one was 1984 actually, I believe. Am I looking at the wrong one?
Yeah, and in terms of Marvel in that era at that time, it was probably one of the most successful, one of the most popular Marvel films at that time. More successful in terms of at the box office, where they were really struggling quite a bit. But that one they did extremely well.
Yeah, that's the one with their suits now are worth millions of pounds or more from the Turtles. Yeah, 1990, bloody hell. That budget, and the box office budget, they did very well on that movie. Yeah, so that's my number 3. Oh no.
Was that number 3 or number 2?
2 wasn't it, I think. Yeah. I think we're on 2. What did he say is 6? Yeah.
We're on 2, so that's your number 2.
Yeah.
Excellent. TMNT.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out. Yeah, the 1990 version.
I'm just cracking open an extra beer.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
You're getting your Tony Club.
I'm already on my second beer, so nothing wrong with that at all.
I've had a couple of days of beer, so
I won't be catching up with that, but. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everybody see that picture of showing it?
Maybe.
Turtle Power.
Yeah, it was also we used to watch the television show when we were
cartoon.
much younger. Yeah, the cartoon in the
I've
nineties.
got all that on there too.
I definitely remember that. I know they did
Those with
their
those
own
movies,
live action films and stuff.
The live action ones is
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Oh right, okay.
But the cartoons is that's in animating or
Yeah.
TV or cartoon.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean by the categories I go with.
No, absolutely. Don't worry, we'll definitely do categories. I mean, like I said, it's just going to extend the podcast, and that's what we want. We want to know
Exactly.
more material, more content we can cover. That's what we want.
Yeah, take you to the movies to watch it because it was 1990. So we might have taken Adam, but even then, we don't know. It wouldn't have been. He'd have been 2 years old.
Yeah.
We watched it at the movies, but obviously I was wrong.
Because even in England before, because this would have been before 2001, we used to watch a television show. So I definitely remember it from being a kid, but not in the States. It was definitely in UK.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just thought I would have gone to the pictures to see it, but no, obviously out of them.
I don't know, because I feel like maybe, but at the same time, I don't think I've really gone to the theaters to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I'm not sure.
No, just the timing on it. It came out in 1990, so it makes sense that we kind of couldn't really be honest when it came out.
Yeah.
So,
Like animated suits with
yeah.
actors inside, but
Yeah.
the animatronics
Maybe
were
we
done
saw-
by synced hands.
Maybe something like VHS or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it would definitely been on VHS, and
Yeah.
it's only now been recently. I
I'm
wouldn't
sure it's
say-
on like streaming now, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say recently, but it is now available on DVD.
No, I'm
So-
not surprised. I'm not surprised.
I'd say the first two were okay. The third one, they went a bit silly, time travel.
That's
and,
going to happen, isn't it? Come up with ideas.
The first two, yeah, I'd happily be on my list, but the third one, it's hit
you're
miss.
okay. You're okay. You find the first one believable.
Yeah, the first one definitely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
Giant turtles in superhero outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're mutants and they're ninjas, It's totally believable. In the streets of New York.
and they're all named after like Renaissance painters.
Renaissance Italians, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Totally believable.
yeah.
Trained by a rat. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all believable.
But yeah, that was number 2 for me.
That's fair. Okay, so Dad, what is your number 2?
My number 2, in the tussle with the Inception all the time, is The Watchmen.
Oh.
Still in the realm of superheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another
Again,
DC one.
Yeah, another DC universe.
Yeah.
Although
But
really a little bit different in the sense it was based more on a graphic novel than any kind of regular
Yeah.
Yeah.
comic book. But it was more.
But that was one of the
Very well
better
done.
versions.
Very well done.
Yeah.
I gotta say, another film where around the same sort of time as Inception, I suppose, not much difference in time. But I once I saw it at the cinema, I just wanted to watch it again, and I went back at least 2 times in the same week to watch it again because I loved it that much. I just love these characters and their backstories. I love comic books anyway, but one of the things I love most about comic books is the origin stories, the backstories, and this of course is full of them. They're intriguing. There's history. So the whole band of superheroes there's a history to it, and then we get exposed to us right at the start of the film, and then all the other bits and pieces that are going on, all the various subplots. I just absolutely love this film.
Yeah. And you've got Rorschach, one of the most notable, amazing. I mean, you can call him a hero. He's more like a detective.
Yeah.
Detective hero, almost like a Batman in a way. And
But just very dark, very dark.
Yeah, that's I agree. I really like Watchmen about that because it takes a whole idea of superheroes and it's like it makes it far more real.
Yeah, they're not all good and innocent. Like
Yeah.
Some of them, they have their dark parts.
The comedian,
Yeah.
for a great example.
Exactly. But,
Yeah.
I thought that one was a good one.
That's it exactly.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. I mean, great line when he was in prison.
Absolutely. So based on the graphic novel, and by the way, I've not Dave Gibbons. It's not him. He's an English guy. So IMDb giving credit to Dave Gibbons here, but there's actually wrote the original graphic novel. I think what his name was. Because I'm just looking into the background of the actual book. No, I've only read bits of the graphic novel. No, Jordan's got it and he's read it and he's let me borrow it to read. But it's I think that is the story itself that's above all else that's really true. And even says the guy that wrote the graphic novel says it's not 100% true to form, that the film's not. He wasn't that massively impressed with the film, but I loved the film. That was my introduction to the whole story. And I thought it was great.
Yeah, I think we saw it in theaters, didn't we?
Yeah. Again, it's the same sort of time as Inception, so maybe a little bit later. So it was 2009. Inception.
Definitely around then.
Time, wasn't it? So it was just Inception was the year after. So, but yeah, we did. I mean, I know one sad scene. I wanted everybody else to see it as well. I wanted to watch it. I wanted excuses to watch it again and again because I liked it that much. And I don't, even though I love films, they don't always have that. They very rarely have that impact on me. Very rarely want to see a film again,
multiple times. Yeah.
Again, straight away. Yeah.
I completely understand. Yeah, I think that's a good way for a rating of a top 10. I couldn't agree more. That's how I base it. The top 10s are films that I'm like, yeah, I could absolutely watch it again. And even in the same day, sometimes you're like, yeah, no, I'll watch it right now, no problem.
Yeah, it's wacky, isn't it?
Yeah, but I guess that's why it should be so significant. A top 10 shouldn't be a list of like films you think are great, but you wouldn't watch again in a heartbeat. Well, that just doesn't seem fair. There needs to be something you would put on repeat, and you'd be like, I could watch this every single day. Yeah. I think it's meant to be such a high standard. It should be difficult to achieve.
Yeah.
And yet, there's tons of films.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
tons of films
too many on the way too many to. I'm only picking the ones that I know I can happily put on now and lose myself in these movies without having to fidget or anything like that. I can just sit there and watch it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. You could take a panel of critics and they'd say, and they'd be right to say this film is much better film, that has a higher quality, of that is better film, but critically better film than this or whatever, and they'd have a completely different list. We're being very subjective in our list here. We're going with things which appeal to us directly and personally.
That's
and
right.
in some cases there's crossover, but more importantly, it's things that for us, mean something to us, and we would watch
again and again.
They're enjoyable.
Exactly right.
So what are we on now? 1?
No, it's my number 2 now.
Oh.
So, funnily enough, keeping in with everybody's superhero theme, it is a mashup, but it is tied between Deadpool or Guardians of the Galaxy.
Either of them, more than happy.
They're both fantastic in their own right.
Yeah.
They both have excellent choices for casting.
Soundtracks.
If you ask me, I think Deadpool technically is ahead because whereas Guardians of the Galaxy has a great cast as a group of people who all work well together, it's a great story, great music, great fun, goofy sci-fi comic. It does very, very well with every single aspect it's given, and I completely agree. Deadpool all relies on Ryan Reynolds portraying Deadpool.
The character he's fought.
Ultimately, it's all about the one, and he does such a job carrying the film. You are so pulled in, and you're like, I have to keep watching more Deadpool stuff because I cannot stop watching how entertaining, how much action, how fun he is, and how much fun he himself is having. Like Anthony was even saying, he's like, this is the character he says he's always wanted to play. Ever since X-Men Origin Wolverine.
Which he didn't like that character, but that's why in the end, he goes back and then he retcons movies he didn't like.
Exactly.
Like Green Lantern.
Exactly, but the fact is, even back then he was like, look, we didn't do it justice, this isn't what I wanted. Yes, you brought Wade Wilson, that was all you did. You did absolutely everything else wrong for me. We need to have Deadpool have his own film for a good reason. And not only did he deserve to have his own film, he ended up with a sequel as well, and they're both excellent.
And then now they're talking of a third, and then bringing him into the MCU.
I'm not surprised. I'd be so happy with because he himself, he does an absolutely incredible job playing Deadpool. I mean, it's so.
It's a character that was really written for him to play it.
Yeah, just a
You
fourth
could
wall
see-
breaking,
yeah.
absolutely insane, goofy anti-hero is what he likes to
I
describe
couldn't
himself
see
as.
another actor playing
No.
Deadpool now after
It would
his
not do
portrayal
justice.
of Deadpool.
It would not do justice.
No.
Not to narc on Guardians of the Galaxy, because I mean I love the first one, I love the second one. Cool stories, fantastic stuff, excellent cast, excellent banter.
Yeah.
But you know, when it comes to strengths, you have to admit Deadpool should be stronger because it's all based on the one person's performance as compared to 5. You know, it's just understandable. But I love them both equally in their own right because of the fact they're the best representation of a comic book film in this day and age. Where if somebody, you know, I've heard about all these Marvel films, but I don't really know anything about comics. It's like, okay, this is where you should start.
Yeah.
These two films will get you in. They'll absolutely get somebody in and they'll go, you know what, I could get into this.
You'll have a giggle.
Yeah, the thing is as well, it's just the humour. I mean, they're both very, very funny. Great dialogue. Well written. Just comedy. I mean, Guardians didn't really appeal to me at first because I got it mixed up with one of my favourites from the actual comics, and I wasn't sure it was going to be true to the comics, and I was mixed up anyway. The thing is, when I watched it, I loved it because of the dialogue. It's so funny. It's got some really good funny lines in it, and Deadpool even more so. And it's very, in Deadpool especially, it's dark humour. So it's humour. A lot of it is, you know, just dark and kind of, it's very adult. Not, you know, adult in the sense of, you know, rude or sweary or anything like that. But just it's got adult kind of references and stuff like that. Things that make adults laugh, not just kids.
Yeah.
So even though kids enjoy Deadpool because it's funny at that level too, and also good action and it's still got all the superhero stuff that you expect to see and you want to see. But adults, it's just funny. Even if you're not a fan of superheroes, as you say, it's a good gateway. Both good gateway films because they're not just about superheroes. That they actually have got very funny human humour in there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So anyway, that's my number 2. I think Anthony's right. We're moving on to our number 1s of all time. This is tricky. I mean, this is the make or break kind of thing.
So yeah, this is where it gets for me. These are ones that I could happily, like I said, put on, lose myself in it, and emerge.
Yeah,
You know, it's good. So
Is
it's
it
not.
gone for a week?
Well, could be if I started watching all of these again. Happily.
So Anthony, what is your?
Well, this is a British musical crime, and it's called Bugsy Malone. It was made in 1976, and the cast, like Jodie Foster for one, it was the first thing I saw when I was, you know, I was quite young when I saw this, and it just.
I was quite young when I saw it, so you must have been very young.
Well, I wasn't born in the 70s, I was born in the 80s, so this is when I saw it.
Yeah, obviously. So I watched it at the cinema when it first came out.
Yeah.
So I was only 14 then. So yeah, you must have watched this, I guess, on video.
Yeah, the VHS sort of style. It was yeah. Which I still own that video by now. Just to let you know that I do own that same video I had as a child to this day.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's in mint condition, and I also have it on DVD and digital. Because like I said, this is a movie.
You can watch it every single way. Hi.
Honestly, the cast alone are still. Some of these are still top actors to this day.
Yeah.
Like they're still in acting today.
I mean, talking Jodie Foster, like you said, I mean, she went on to become, and she still is, huge.
Like her part in The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh
or
God!
Hannibal, come on.
Hannibal Lecter. Oh.
Yeah, so that's my one. I can happily sit there and dream that I was a child gangster in my own pedal car and walking around shooting people with cream pies. Yeah. So yeah, that.
We were with you then. Even in the generation before, we felt the same way. That was what we all dreamed about doing.
Oh no joke. As soon as I watched it, I was like, as a child, I was what was his name? Babyface.
Yeah.
And Dexter Fletchman, or whatever his name is.
Dexter Fletcher.
Yeah, brilliant actor. But yeah, I'd love that character right now. He's running around batting people with baseball bats.
That's great.
Yeah. I believe it was Michael Jackson was in it. He was the dude that played the piano,
All right.
but he's not.
Not credited.
Not at all. No.
Yeah. Okay. Shame.
Yeah.
And I think that I want to say that I thought it was Mickey DeLenz made the movie, but in fact it was Alan Parker that made the movie. But I'm sure that Mickey DeLenz from the Monkees might have been a producer, so I'm trying to find his name. I can't see his name associated with it anywhere.
Yeah.
Unless it was he was doing the stage show. They did a stage show version of it.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
But I could have sworn that he was involved in the making of the movie as well. But obviously I can't see him listed there. So.
No.
But yeah, fantastic movie. I remember, well, as a kid.
Yeah. The soundtrack to this day, I still listen to it. So anytime I'm ever mopping the floor.
Still play that music.
Yeah.
Still play all the music from it.
Yeah, like Paul Williams. He did most of that soundtrack, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be a boxer, or my name is Tallulah. I'm feeling fine.
You can be anything you want to be.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Fat Sam, Tomorrow, original. Yeah. I'm sorry, but it's one of the best soundtracks, movie soundtracks. I still listen to this day. So yeah.
Very good. Very good. Good choice.
Definite. So what is your number one, Dad?
My number one is a Tim Burton movie
Oh.
starring Johnny Depp,
Yeah.
and it is Ed Wood.
Yeah.
It's a film
Yeah.
about the director Ed Wood. It's been my all-time favourite film for quite a long time. Certainly,
He's he's one of my top directors in Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, brilliantly quirky director.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Just off the wall, out there, left field.
Made one of the best Batman films out there.
Yeah, the original, the first, not the original, but the Batman
Yeah. The
film from the 1980s that he made was superb. Again, Jack Nicholson
yeah.
playing the Joker.
Then again, there's a bit of trivia there. Nobody wants. Sorry?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say a bit of trivia about the Joker and Jack Nicholson. Everybody compares their Joker to his. Like,
Yeah.
the only one that's parred with him is Heath.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
He's done quite well.
They're my two Jokers. Or
Mark Hamill,
yeah,
the voice of the Joker. Yeah.
So yeah. That's where.
Agree with that. So Ed Wood is a story of a true life story of director Ed Wood. When I first watched this film, I knew quite a lot about the character about Ed Wood, because I'd seen documentaries about him. I've seen bits of his films, Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is the main kind of focus of, or towards the end of this film, is the making of that particular film. It's really all the films, all the kind of well-known B movies that Ed Wood made. But at the time the film came out, I mean, Ed Wood was known as being a real, not even B movie, more like a Z movie type, but director from the 1950s, but was fascinated with sci-fi and sci-fi horror. And he was credited with, one of his films is credited as being the worst film of all time, and that is Plan 9 from Outer Space. So that was for me, it was a known thing. He had a cult following for making terrible movies, which were so bad that everybody loved them, and they had massive followings. But of course, in the 50s, that wasn't the case. It took a long time for people to appreciate just how much of a cult following he deserved to have. So he didn't make lots of money out of movies, but he was so passionate about his craft. Even though he churned out some garbage, he was just so into it. He just loved doing it, and he put some really peculiar together and things like that. He just, friends that he had that kind of misfits from society that he brought together. So his story is fascinating in itself. But then you take Tim Burton's take on it, and Johnny Depp. To that point, for me, I'd only really ever thought of Johnny Depp as playing in fairly dark roles, fairly kind of somber characters, kind of a little bit surly. But for the first time, I saw Johnny Depp playing a really kind of bright, passionate, eager, energetic, over the top, hyper young bloke, and I thought it was a really decision because it brought the character through, and I especially thought that Martin Landau, who I think he did end up getting an Oscar for this, he certainly got an Oscar nomination for his portrayal as Bela Lugosi. He played a fantastic Bela Lugosi, and in that film, he really brought that obviously he's a real person, but he brought his character out really, really, really well. So I just love that this film. I could watch it over and over and over and over and over again because it's full of energy. It's full of it's got
and it's cram packed of good actors.
Humour. It's kind of uplifting.
It's got one of them.
Uplifting story of
Bill Murray.
passion. It's somebody who loves it, but doesn't get very far with it. But but still puts all his time and energy into it. A bit like this podcast. Put all our time and energy into it. Well, it might get somewhere. It might not get somewhere. But you know what? We love doing it, so we'll keep on doing it. And that's I think the bottom line of this film and the bottom line of this story, which I really love.
Yeah,
That's a great way to describe it.
exactly.
So, what about you guys and your number one?
So my number one of all time is it's kind of a trilogy. It's kind of two trilogies, although it shouldn't have been, but it turned out well either way. Is the Lord of the Rings franchise?
Oh,
Because I mean, look, as a guy who this is probably one of my first big forays into the whole fantasy, not so much the sci-fi aspect of fantasy, but like just the idea of you've got mythical creatures, you've got elves, humans, dwarves, orcs, just the fantasy genre.
yeah.
This is probably one of my first big introductions into it in the film way. I know it was like obviously like it'd been books, varying times before that, but yeah, no, this was probably one of the best representations for me that really made me realize, oh my god, I actually really, really like fantasy, and then it ended up spurning my favoritism of certain genres and my certain tastes of certain things, and it helped me like turn into kind of the specific kind of games I ended up playing. I even did like some Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. Fantasy was like a big part for me growing up, and I would say it is mostly due to the fact of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
And,
I'd second that.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I think everybody in this day and age knows what Lord of the Rings is, so I won't waffle on too much about it. But whether you talk about the original trilogy or even the Hobbit trilogy, they both deserve to be well recognized in their own way because they brought a great cast, they brought an excellent story. They've got like their own made up languages in it that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote and fully crafted and everything, and it just felt incredibly true to form. And it's it might be a bit dry and a bit long for some people. I do understand that.
Yeah.
But as a person who really enjoys the fantasy genre, it's one of those things that if you bring it up in any kind of conversation with anybody else who also likes fantasy, you can easily have conversations about it for a long period of time.
Yeah, it's something. It's such a J.R.R. Tolkien originally in the original books and things like that. He created, as he said, he crafted such a deep and sophisticated world. He put so much effort into it. There's so much to it. The full depth and dimensions of the world he created and the stories that go along it that you can fully. And then Peter Jackson magically brought this to the screen in the way that he did.
Oh, he did.
The thing is that you can just immerse yourself in it. It doesn't really matter how long it is, and if you want to live inside that world for a little bit of time, the longer the better, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'd more
absolutely.
than happily have a Hobbit home.
Absolutely.
I live in one of them.
Yeah, I mean, they've even got like the Hobbit home still live in New Zealand. I mean, you can go and actually check out some of the places that they filmed. It's all still there. It's just incredible how, it's been such a big part of so many people's lives, and I definitely can see why. It's been an absolutely incredible franchise.
Yeah, I've got to admit, it's just on the edge of my top 10 as a series. All the Lord of the Rings films, and I absolutely love them as well. And it's always been, even before the movies came out, Lord of the Rings, the story has always been the flagship, or not the flagship, but that was a pioneer kind of series of books and fictions that introduced fantasy, this fantasy world and all these characters, which types of races that came along that have been used and reused over and over again. That was the first kind of. It was the first time we saw things like elves, or first time we saw hobbits. One of the first time we saw elves, dwarves, and things like that. But the first time you had these fully formed worlds filled with all these characters, interaction and things like that.
Yeah.
It was, Tolkien is one that brought it about, and it's his formative influence in the whole fantasy genre. Any fantasy writer will, of course, acknowledge him as being the creator of fantasy, if you will.
Yeah.
Genre.
Yeah.
So yeah, what a great choice.
Yeah.
So what about Anthony? What's yours?
I've already given you mine. Mine was the Bugsy Malone.
You
Yeah.
didn't have one.
Didn't I?
Oh, of course, yeah, of course it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was your number one. Sorry. Oh, I lost track there. I've been drinking too much beer. I'm on my second now, and I'm quite strong this beer. So.
Yeah, like I said, I've got so many here that I was just picking out ones that stood out to me at a younger age that I still would happily go back now and watch over and over again.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I honestly think that if I had some time on my hands, if I had like a weekend, I didn't know what to do with it, I could sit down and go through this list starting from number 10 and just watch them all. Starting from number 10.
I'd happily do that again, yeah.
Days.
Well, it'd be more than that. It'd be like weeks, maybe a month to go through the whole collection and just write up reviews on each one of them. Yeah, you'd be there for years.
Well then, Nathan, we're at the end of our top 5. We had a little tangent there, a little slightly branch off and did a top 5 comedy as well.
Yeah, I think that
our weekly feature. So we're at the 2-hour point at this point.
we are.
I've been
Yeah,
recording for 2 hours.
yeah. So he's not. He's done his.
Has he disappeared, has he?
Yeah. And he's left me with Pepe. So yeah, it's
Big
not.
Pepe being a handful.
No, he's always a good boy. Yeah, he's always a good boy, he is.
Is it?
Mm.
So what are you looking forward to for watching next week? What things have you got? Have you got anything on the list for next week that you fancy watching?
Whatever, yeah.
I don't. You fancy this Worst Roommate? I think I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, I think I might do that. I've still got, is it the new Resident Evil to watch. I've got quite a bit there that I've put on the wish list to watch, but I haven't got round to it because it's quite hard to find, the mind just to sit there and go, right, I'm going to sit here and just dedicate this next couple of hours to watching this when I got other things that take over my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Well, I have a wish list, like I've got, a spreadsheet, and I just put, when something appeals to me, or I think, I want to have a look at that, because I've got a massive spreadsheet of all the films that came out over the last 20 years and beyond. And I tend to go through and look at what looks appealing, and if I can get my hands on it at some point, I've got this wish list that says, right, if I ever get a chance to watch that, that's worth it to watch. I want to look at that. It looks interesting.
Yeah.
I've usually got a fairly good list of options, and now that we've got this the Google Fire Stick, and we've got this app that lets you watch pretty much anything, to be honest with you. That's quite handy. It's quite handy to go through this list and say, oh, cool.
Yeah, no, I like doing that. And then you get to really remember the film because you've written it down, so therefore you can't forget anything about that.
Yeah, exactly. I was going through. We were talking the other ages ago, probably about 2 or 3 podcasts ago. No, it might have been last week because we were talking about a movie with John Goodman.
Yeah.
When he plays in a black and white, it's a silent film all the way through. When it's called The Artist.
That's
I don't remember what the name of that film was. The Artist is the name of that film. There we go. I'm looking down this is my wish list now. This is a wish list I did it a while ago. Put this together, but it looks like as I go through it, I've watched pretty much all the films on there. I've already watched them. There's a couple of Asian horror films that I've not seen that are worth watching. I don't know if you like Asian horror.
That's like a hit and miss, really. It all depends on,
Like The Grudge and stuff like that, or Dark Water, or I think there's a few. The Eye, Ringu. I've not really got into Ringu, but The Eye, The Grudge, I think is one of the best horror films of all time. As well, when we get to genres again and do like all time best horror, all time best whatever. I'm pretty sure that The Grudge is at the top of my list, or very close to the top of my list. But no, Shining's my favourite all time.
Yeah, like I said, that one, and then I recently watched that Doctor Sleep because I wanted to, I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, that is extremely good.
Yeah, I can't remember I watched that on. It might have been Amazon Prime. Could have been it would have been Amazon Prime. I wouldn't have thought Disney would have had it.
Yeah, it is available on Amazon Prime, so you might watch it on there.
Yeah. See,
actually, it's such a big... Go on.
I was going to say, they're the only streaming ones I use at the moment, is Amazon and Disney or YouTube. Or if I owned them on DVD.
I'm back.
Well, there's some free films on YouTube at the minute. I was watching a documentary on YouTube about the best free films on YouTube at the minute. And they had, he went through a list of 10, and in that list of 10 he brought out 5 gems, which he 5 ones which we all know, which includes, by the way, Silence of the Lambs, which you mentioned a bit ago, which is a film worth watching at any time.
I believe that's another one I have.
And he also mentioned 5 hidden gems, and amongst those 5 hidden gems there's at least 2 films which I know and I've seen, and I agree with him, fantastic films. One is Idiocracy, and one is Penelope with Christina Ricci.
Oh.
And they're both available on Amazon Prime, on YouTube, free at the minute.
Alright.
So, yeah, Penelope is kind of a rom-com, but it's with a difference, and I'm just a fan of Christina Ricci, so anything that she's in, I want to see. But it's a really interesting, very different kind of rom-com, which I'll say no more because it'll be a spoiler. And then the other is Idiocracy, which is Mike Judge's take on what the futuristic world might look like, with Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson's brother, playing the lead role in a world. He's frozen. He goes into the future, a bit like in Futurama, but he's in this world where everybody's just completely stupid. Like right up to the president, everybody in society is completely stupid, and he's himself is a less than average intelligence person, and he thinks of himself in that way. But in this world he wakes up in, he's now the smartest man on the planet because everybody just does the most stupid shit. And it's funny because Mike Judge is the guy that did Beavis and Butthead. So if you enjoy that kind of humour, or Office Space, another one of my probably favourite comedies is definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen Idiocracy.
Cool, now we'll have a look for that one.
Yeah, no, I remember that one. Very funny. Very funny.
And free on YouTube at the minute, so.
Well, even more reason to watch it. It's free on YouTube. No reason not to.
There you go. Absolutely. Right, well, we've been over 2 hours. We're gonna get ready to wrap up on this one?
Yeah, I think we should. It's we've done very well. The fact is, we made it through top 10 and then some extras.
Yeah, always.
We've done well. I'm very pleased with us. We've done quite a tough thing. I think next week we'll have to go and do a category. Maybe we'll start with comedy. We'll do top 10 comedies.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it'd be a little easier to deal with at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I've really enjoyed this time. I certainly hope the both of you have as well.
I definitely have.
Excellent, and I hope those who've listened this far also are having a good time, and I hope they have a good rest of their evening. And we'll see you in a week's time. But I don't know. Should we leave them with a question or a poll this week?
Yeah, can do. Have you got anything in mind?
Yeah, I suppose on the theme of top 10, let's say what is their number 7 top? Oh, sorry, yes. What's their top 7 film of all time? Their number 7 film of all time. I'll put that in a poll for Spotify.
Okay, that'll be interesting. We've given them lots of ideas.
Yeah.
These last 2 podcasts, haven't we?
Lots of things to think about. We'll see what their number 7 of all time is, and we'll see if there's any interesting ones. If there are, maybe we'll bring it up on an episode.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. We'll give them lots of ideas. These last 2 podcasts, haven't we? Lots of things to think about. We'll see what their number 7 of all time is, and we'll see if there's any interesting ones. If there are, maybe we'll bring it up on an episode. absolutely.
Well, thank you very much from all of us. This is Dad, Lad, and Anthony in Movie Land, and we'll catch you in a week's time. Take care, chaps.
Yeah, take care. See you next time.